What is going on? Welcome back, GM. GM, good evening. Um, Man, what's going on? It's been a busy week for me. Um, I am excited as always to hear what's going on around the Macroverse. Anyone just tuning in, I am Tiny Universe. Welcome to Tiny's Universe. Um, should have a ton of good stuff for you this evening. So, the time is none other than to bring in my good friend Evan Matthews, um, who to me needs no introduction. But I don't know if you want to do a nice brief introduction as usual. Um,
You've heard me do it so many times. What would you say?
oh man, for me. It's still I wouldn't know how to put it into a condensed. Um, but man, the evil genius.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
The man, the myth, the legend. Sorry,
I try to keep the evil in check, but yeah. So you can say co-founder, CEO of Macroverse. What we're building and some of the things we're going to talk about tonight has been nothing short of what I now consider like really my whole life's ambition and goal. Everything I've done has kind of led to this opportunity to rethink and reshape how entertainment franchises are developed and created and born and ultimately brought out into the world. And I think most importantly, right sizing the way that incentives are aligned around all the people that participate in doing those things. And so, that is the end goal of where this is all headed. And doing it in a innovative, unique way, which is also really always a place where I like to try to push boundaries and do some interesting, exciting things. Is exploring areas that people haven't done things in that way before.
I love talking about the end game because it's like someone on Discord today. It was actually a KIA person, and I don't remember exactly the name, but they were saying like, what is the short term, long term, like what's the end goal? And I said definitely longer term, but who knows? And they were excited. First time I was anticipating like, oh come on, and they're like, yes. That got me super pumped again. Like just man, it's good to see the excitement around some of these older projects again. So speaking of which, that's one of the things that we kind of touched on. Sorry about my kids.
It's a family friendly show. We can say,
wow.
Bring your kids to stream day. It's all good. I'll be here any minute, I'm sure.
Oh man. But no, I know. I don't know if you had anything left to touch on about any of those updates from the town halls and stuff like that.
I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I know like we kind of finished up there, and we're gonna touch on DMC, but kind of recap.
Yeah. So I think the recap is again we talked about it a little more in depth maybe a week or so ago in one of our last updates about we had done a series of town halls and all of the main NFT collection projects that we have under the Macroverse umbrella. So Koala Intelligence Agency, the Vogu, Bushido's, GSA, and our own Dead Town collection. So those that had been kind of released in their full kind of character collection form. And so wanting to kind of focus a little bit on kind of where we are with each collection, what has been delivered, what we're working on right now, and then a lot of kind of what can we do in the short term while we continue to build out these longer term things. And the biggest takeaway, the biggest TLDR component of that for really all of the collections is we've got a bunch of ideas about kind of what some of those things are, but we want to really engage the core community, both of each collection, but also in the context of the broader Macroverse, in the context of this now multi-franchise endeavor that we're all on together, and be able to look at how do we engage and bring attention to and excitement to each collection, but also how they all tie together. And so we're going to be kicking off what we are calling a writer's room for each collection, but then those people that participate in each collection also can participate in the larger kind of Macroverse interconnectivity of all of that, if you will. And there's we're going to do a whole kickoff session around kind of how we're thinking about that, how to get involved, how to participate. We said in all the town halls that we would be kicking that off before the end of the month. I know it is very close to the end of the month, so I think the reality is it'll be some point next week, and we're just working out schedules right now. So it'll be the beginning of April as opposed to end of March, but we'll have that posted in the Discord as far as time. I think we're honing in on a few times that we know works for us, and then we're gonna do a little poll for kind of when the most people can join and attend, so that we try to capture as many people in a live conversation as possible. Then of course we'll record it. So anyway, that's the kind of big next step from all those town halls, is we will do this initial kickoff session and then break into kind of both smaller project specific groups and then the larger kind of overall main Macroverse community group. And so I think just what we want to do is set the table with as many opportunities as possible for people to come in and play. And you've heard me talk about this a whole lot, but I really think what we're building, part of what that long-term vision is rethinking how we kind of take a little twist on what people talk about as the creator economy, and we think of it as the participation economy. And so whether you consider yourself a creator or not, there are ways to participate in the growth and acceleration of this larger ecosystem that we're building at all kinds of different levels, at all kinds of different time frames, at all kinds of different ways of kind of levels of commitment, if you say want to say it that way, from very passive to very active and everything in between. And so we want to kind of break down how we're thinking about that, how we think people can come and plug in, what the rewards for doing that can look like, and how we build this bigger, better, faster, stronger together. So look for that in the Discord over the next few days as we put that poll up and then nail down a time for next week. I think that's really the next step there.
Very cool. I've actually had like I said, some people asking about like what the next steps were and stuff like that. And I tried to kind of point, I think that you've done a pretty good job of breaking that up into each world. So, anybody that may be one of those world specifics, you can always go into each one of those in the Discord, into the announcements there, and they have specific updates as well. So,
one of the things I was thinking about, and this is a little sneak preview of part of the conversation that we'll end up having, but it's like, one of the things I think about in the kind of what's the benefit of having this kind of multi-franchise ecosystem as opposed to laser focus, kind of on a single project. And I think it is the ability to, I've always really believed that we can build this where all boats rise together, where the success of one thing helps to lift up, all the things. And so one of the things that, I think is interesting about that is, I think there's been a lot of experiments over the last couple of years in Web3 around, kind of token gating different experiences, and, how that you have to have this to participate in that. And I'm not saying we won't do any of that, but I think the way that we're thinking about it is, rather than having a very, very exclusive club because you managed to be in the right place at the right time with the right dollars, I think we're trying to kind of broaden that a little bit and say, rather than it being gated around you had the right thing at the right time, it's really around like, oh, you've got something in the broad world of what we're doing. And that could be a penny, NFT that you got off of one of our Drip House releases. It could be a, $10 character that is sitting on the floor right now for one of the GSA collection right now, or it could be something that's still being hodled for dear life by, one of the higher end pieces in one of the collections, or anything in between. But that's your ticket, not just to come play in that particular project, but to come and play wherever you feel like, you have both the most to give and also, the thing that you're the most interested in getting some benefits from longer term. And so you can almost look at it like, you got your ticket to Disney, but that ticket is also going to get you into Universal Studios and get you a nice dinner somewhere and access to exclusive merch and things like that, you might also be interested in. So
give me 2 seconds. Keep going. I'll be right
back. All good. No worries. I'll just take Tiny off screen for a second there. So I think, that's the next step from the town halls. Pretty excited about where this is all headed. We also have been going through and doing updates for anyone in these particular, in the particular projects that we've been working on community anthology stories with for, short comics. We've been going through and doing some updates on those. We're getting very close to starting to release those episodes, both on the mobile app, as well as some other channels. I guess, man, Tiny, your mere presence has me want to talk about stuff that I don't want to talk about, but there is some print news coming soon as well. So, just talking about the anthology stories, I think we've got a way to include that in some of the physical side of things that we're working on, and just massive update across the board on all of the anthology stories. Those will start to now be released in very, very short order here. So we're going through and doing kind of the last round of updates. Some of you that we need little tweaks or feedback from scripts or kind of final art that's coming in, that'll pop up in the various Discord channels where we're working on those things together. There's and actually, just as a total side note, like if you don't know what we do in that capacity as far as building these short comics with community members based on the characters that they own, there's a whole section of the Discord which is pretty interesting to dive into and kind of just look through the whole process for each of these shorts across different collections and different storylines. And it's all, it's all there in public to kind of dive into and see how we actually make this stuff. So I think, that's just a resource for people that are interested in telling stories and might want to participate in that process as we kick into the next couple rounds.
So speaking of trying to get you to spill things, I don't know if you've thought about this yet, but in the past we've had people that maybe didn't feel like they were creators or writers and had kind of like semi-stake things. Or is there going to be opportunities like that? I mean, are people going to?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think it goes back to that kind of participation economy concept or participation spectrum, as I also like to, kind of think about it. So, I think, I guess I'll just lay this out. Like, my mental model is that there's this participation spectrum when it comes to how people come and contribute and then get rewarded for that contribution inside of this larger Macroverse ecosystem. And so you could say that on one side of that spectrum is truly passive, like, I'm happy to just have access to cool stuff. And so in our world right now, that largely means like you hold an asset inside of any of the things that we're doing in the Macroverse, and we'll hook you up with a free subscription to our app, for example. So, that's a way to just have a bunch of really cool content literally at your fingertips, because you're a part of this ecosystem and community. And so you could kind of look at that as like your Netflix subscription where, so I want to, have access to a bunch of stuff. I don't care about owning it, just give me more cool stuff to look at, read, pay attention to, get excited about, and have that access. And so, that's one end of the spectrum is like, I don't really care about being very active, but I just, I want to have the benefits of just being a part of this ecosystem in some way. And then there's all the way on the other side of the spectrum, which to me looks like I want to own it and I have something to say about it. And those would be, collecting epics and, having kind of more breadth of your, kind of collection across these different, pieces of the ecosystem. It's being very active and engaged in the community, and, we're here for feedback. We're here for these conversations. It's, being someone that raises your hand and says like, hey, I've got an idea. What if you did this? Or, when we ask a question, you go like, oh, well, I think this, like, we want that. So there's, I want to own it and I have something to say about it. And then there's all the space in the middle. And that's what we're really trying to fill out with a lot of the other things that we do, whether that's, finding yourself going like, oh, I own a character in this world. I have a story I want to tell about that character. And either I already have a strong idea about what that is, or I want to engage in the process of, discovering what that is and working with, other people in the community to help, develop that. Or the more passive version, moving back towards the, the access part is, I've got a character. I don't know who this character is. I don't really care to spend the time to figure that out. But if anybody else wants to play with my toys, by all means do so. And then we'll share in the benefits together. And so it's, those are some of the things that we do to kind of cover ways that you can, participate at different levels across that spectrum.
Very nice. Yeah. I'm muting it because they're still just.
That's okay.
I told
the people that hate kids, this show is not for you.
I know. I told Evan before the stream, it's like Step Brothers in the room behind me. So I don't know. Some days are good, some days aren't. But
I don't know if you can hear my own background noise, but I have Roblox madness going on in the other room as well.
Oh man.
We started spring break today. I don't know if that's true.
So, oh God, yeah, I do know. I was gonna say, so I think the big thing for me, and this is kind of moving into what we were just talking about, character collections, was the Drip House PFP release.
All right, yes.
And I am mind blown. I mean. Not only am I like happy and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, but this is something that, being a huge fan of Aerosol, that's one of my top favorite I don't want to say projects, but I mean just
it's one of our series, for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of my favorite works on the app for sure. But I didn't even know that there was a character collection.
I love the fact that you didn't know that. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, I don't know if I did know and I just didn't think about it. But man, this stuff looks incredible. I mean, I love the art anyway from the comic. And if nobody's seen that, I encourage everybody to go check it out on the app. And that one's amazing. But that's one I've been looking forward to. And so, Can you please give me some more info on that, because it's outstanding.
Well, thank you. I mean, all the credit for the art goes to Jay Espin, who's the creator, writer, dreamer person that really has created all of the world of Aerosol. And, we have the very good fortune of kind of making that a Macroverse original title, as well as working with him on creating this character collection. And so these are the pieces that we released on Drip House last week. And so these are the, each tier has two characters. So here's the common, and then the rares, which I think are super cool. And then here are the legendaries, where, we get into a little more of the kind of mythology of some of the world. And then I think, to me, the Ultimates, of course, just came out amazing. And I love this one so much. This one we did via auction, and I was actually bidding on it and then got outbid. So I'm very happy that it went to a good home, but I'm a little sad that I didn't get it as well. So
what did I end up going for? I think the last time I saw it, was like 0.5 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 0.8 at the end. So
wow.
Not too bad. But I always want these things to end up with someone that will love them the way that I do. So that's awesome. So I mean, the cool thing about Aerosol, just as a back up for just a second. So number one, like, Jay's work is incredible. It's like he's a Chilean artist who does this very obviously anime kind of inspired style, but the level of kind of emotion and detail that's in his work is incredible. And then, one of the things that you kind of get in the character collection, but you definitely get in the series, is he's also, he's not actually, a graffiti artist, like going out bombing on the street, although he did a little bit when he was younger. But his work is incredibly inspired by street art and calligraphy and all of these, like, kind of craft of, kind of what that aesthetic is. And so it's this mashup of like graffiti culture and street art and anime and manga and superpowers and supernatural and kind of creativity as part of the story, that all comes together in this just really wonderful combination. And what I loved about it the moment I saw it was not only the art, but this concept where art and creativity is the access to magic and superpowers. And that's kind of the core concept of the story and of the world, is that your creativity actually unlocks kind of magic and superpowers in the real world. And it's set in this kind of dystopian future where this kind of group of ragtag street artists and creatives essentially kind of end up rising up against the hierarchy, you could say, or the evil corporations and things that have taken over. But it's just this really wonderful new take on some of those themes that we've seen before. And besides that, I think the art is just stellar. We've been working on this character collection for a while. I think what's funny is we were actually working on it before the release of either Oniforce or Azuki's. So they definitely beat us to the blockchain. We had started, I think, definitely before Azuki. I think.
And one of the things I want to say is that anyone that's like been on the app and read the series, I mean, for me, at least for what's been released, there wasn't a ton of characters.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the story's phenomenal, and it's got futuristic, robotic kind of graffiti, like just I get super excited, but I have so many questions about like the masks and the clothes and the backgrounds, like so many different questions that I know will come into play with the story at some point, or I don't know, man. I'm just
well, this is
so
another one.
Spinning right now.
No, it's awesome. This is another one where we felt like this was a great way to introduce the concept of the world and kind of a flavor and a taste of the collection, really in preparation of being able to release the full character collection later this year, as well as the rest of season 1 of the series. There's you will meet more characters over the course of the season, but what season 1 really does is set the stage for the kind of larger conflict, and we meet a lot of the rest of the crew by the time we get through the full season. This is a spoiler alert. There's a time jump at the end of season 1 into season 2, where the main character in season 1 is a younger person, kind of early teen character, and when we go into season 2, she's fully grown, and we're actually kind of focused on the next generation who has to deal with the aftermath of what happens at the end of season 1. So there's a component of what we're doing with the character collection, which is kind of what we do, but it works so well in this context of saying, here's the world, here's the foundation, here's the setup. Now, you get to decide who these characters are in the context of this world, and especially with the release of the full collection, be able to own these characters, be able to tell stories with these characters, create offshoots and other areas of the world to explore. And so, very excited about that. And I think what we're doing on Drip House is a cool way of kind of combining those elements where this is now the second full kind of batch of specific characters. We did the digital pools, kind of character collection preview. Now this aerosol character collection preview. There will be another one. That will be coming soon. But it's it's a cool way to introduce like characters that you kind of feel compelled to hopefully want to know a little bit more, and then sort of a piece of the story in this format as well.
So another
hint as to what's coming and why you might want to get on the
see
leaderboard this week.
As far as this character collection, is it going to be in the Macroverse kind of build your own style, or is that?
Yep, 100%. And that's part of why these take a while. Is this is another one that has a ton of assets in it. I mean, you can just see the level of detail and care that Jay has put into all of these, and it's another one where you'll be able to customize and create your own character with all these assets. It's going to be incredibly cool. But like, look at this, like the different textures, the different like elements that make up these things. Like, I love the fact that this girl, like, she's got spray paint all over her face, which kind of looks a little bit like a skull, but it also just speaks to like, what were you doing out there in the streets last night? And then we consider these ones that we've done on Drip House to be signature editions, and I think it's kind of a cool. I think it's a cool way of doing this, where each of these is made from components that are in the actual collection. So if you see this and you go like, oh, I love this kind of foreground layer with the musical notes, like I'm a musician, or that I resonate with that, or I really love this little mask, like those will be pieces that you'll be able to apply to your own characters when you build them. At the same time, with something like this one, so these are all pieces that Jay made. And then in this case, like, I crafted each of these characters from those pieces. And so you get, this kind of signature version of them where each one is, built from pieces in the collection, but they've really been crafted as one of one pieces. And in the case of the Ultimates, like, I did go in and like kind of further customize them a little bit. So these might be a case where like, this hairstyle is in the collection, but the kind of silver version of it, or definitely like this armor, like I created a silver variation of what was in the collection to be able to use for this particular piece. So there might be, a few customizations, which we do want to kind of keep exclusive to what we did here on Drip, but generally, like, you'll be able to build versions of your own characters using a lot of these assets.
Yeah. Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. So really happy with how all of this has come out. And just as a side note, humble brag, we're over 140,000 subs on Drip House right now, and magic number for crypto, 69,000 active at the moment. So there is definitely time between now and this next week's drop on Sunday to get up on the leaderboards. I see Tiny's holding strong at number 6 right now. But we've got some cool stuff coming in this Sunday's drop, which is
I've learned you don't necessarily have to be at the top to get.
This is true. Yeah.
All the luxuries of being at the top. I do think, for those out there that have the drips, or maybe want to spend a little bit of extra money to get drip drops.
Yes.
I will say, every drip is an entry for one of those ultimates, and I gotta admit, man, I mean, like, that's what makes me want to fight for the top, is knowing that the more I put in there, the more entries I've got for that.
That's correct. That is correct. That is the reason to get on the leaderboard for sure. Because I think it's such a cool system. It's like every droplet, is a raffle ticket basically. And the way that we like to do this, and for the foreseeable future, there will always be one ultimate that is delivered via that raffle system.
Yeah.
And in some cases, an additional one done via auction. The other thing, which is really cool and people should know, is like, I love doing this because it's another way for us to give some monetary reward back to the people that we work with. And so, with the digital pools drop, for example, like I was able to send a nice little bit of extra cash to Alex and Matt for all the hard work that they do to build that series. And so, that only happens because of the support of the collectors that are contributing those droplets. So might be
which again,
much be.
That's one of the things that I really love about you guys too. It's how much you give back.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it to be a lot more, but yeah, I mean, that's part of the commitment from the beginning. Is we all have to win together. It can't be us, taking advantage of creators the way that has happened for so much of the building of entertainment. So 100%. So yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm psyched about it, and we've got another good one coming on Sunday on Drip House. And then while we're on Drip House, while we're on the Drip House topic, we touched on it last week, but why don't we talk about what's happening with DMC, baby?
I was going to say there's a whole nother page, and what are we up to on that one? So
this is our second Macroverse related Drip House channel. Let me switch over to it. So if you go to driphouse/DMC, we have crossed 100,000 subs on the DMC channel before the first drop, which makes me quite excited. So here's what I think is so cool about DMC, and just for anyone that doesn't know, DMC, this is Daryl McDaniels, one of the founding members of Run DMC. So hip hop music legend. Many people who aren't as tuned into maybe the legacy of who he is and Run DMC as a group. They were the first rap group to go to get a gold record. They were the first to get a platinum record. They were the first to get a multi-platinum record. They were the first to do a major brand deal. So much of what we look at as kind of hip hop culture, which has become so much just culture, was pioneered by Run DMC, and Daryl being one of the key figures there. Sadly, Run DMC broke up because of the murder of their DJ, and so when he was killed, and then here 20 years later, I believe they actually just brought the person that has now been found guilty of that murder to justice. But when he was killed, both Run and DMC said, there is no Run DMC without him. And so that's the reason that there's no longer a Run DMC. It's not because they broke up. It's because this horrific thing happened. And DMC has continued to make music and be a pioneer. The other thing that's unique about Daryl is he is a massive comics fan. And that's the reason that we're working with him, is we got introduced to him through a mutual connection. And, he is just, it's kind of like he'll even probably say, he kind of fell into hip hop. Like he was just kind of gifted as a rapper and someone writing rhymes and telling stories, but he was reading comics before he ever fell into hip hop. And, really that kind of classic, Marvel, Spider-Man kind of fan. And so once Run DMC was no longer kind of the, going at the speed that it was because of that tragedy, he started his own comic company. He's actually published a number of comics featuring this kind of character of DMC that was a kind of a take on a classic kind of Marvel style hero. And just, has been this kind of, big fan of pop culture and storytelling and kind of all the geek stuff that, I really love. And so when we had the chance to connect and talk about, what we might do together, and kind of the next chapter for him is this thing that we're now building together, which is the DMC universe. And the kind of basic concept for that is you can kind of think of it as like a Spider-Verse for hip hop. So the basic kind of concept is that, every key decision in DMC's life has created sort of a splintered reality or a sliding doors kind of effect. And so you can, imagine if you talk to him, you have the chance to kind of spend some time with him, like he'll talk about like if he hadn't gotten in the car the day that Run showed up and said, like, get in the car, we're going to the studio, like literally with no notice, where, you know, he did his first time in the recording booth, and that's where Russell Simmons was like, oh, you can rap, like you're in the group now. And you know, like these moments, these critical moments that, you know, set him on his path. And so we're kind of reimagining his life, both in the reality of his life of like, what if he had gone this way instead of that way, but also in the fantastical, you know, version of that. So being able to take the superhero version of him that he self-published himself now about a decade ago and make that canonical in this larger, you know, universe context. And then also invite a bunch of other creators to come and do collaborations about, you know, okay, taking that broad concept of kind of DMC could go anywhere and be anything in our world, in a fantastical world, in a super, you know, hero world, like, you know, in an 8-bit, you know, Nintendo world, like whatever that might be. You know, we've got about 20 different collaborators that we're working with right now, a bunch of Drip House creators, and then, you know, some other fantastic artists as well, to kind of do their take on what a DMC character would be through the lens of the multiverse, essentially. And so that's what we're going to be doing initially on this channel, is releasing those collaborations. There is a chance that some new music will come through here because of that as well. I'm not promising that. There are some complications with music because of, you know, some of the things we're trying to solve around, you know, record labels and rights and things like that. But there's definitely an interest. And so if we can figure out the right way to do it, Daryl is just, you know, he's the celebrity that everyone wishes celebrities would be. Like, just super great guy, super down to earth, really creative and engaging, and really cares about his fans. And so it's been a absolute joy to work with him, and we're just getting started with what we're planning around all of this. There will be ways to participate in lots of areas around all of this. So the starting point is Drip House, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things that we can do with him and with this concept, with this universe going forward from here.
I was gonna say, I think that's definitely like one of the most exciting announcements for me. You know, was, I mean, I grew up listening to hip hop, and
yeah,
you know, I go back to like my childhood was like NWA and Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And at that same time, you know, you had Run DMC and a bunch of other stuff, probably a little bit before that, but they were still, you know, still going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aerosmith and all that. So
yeah,
you know, to hear that to me, I mean, it's just legendary. I mean, there's like, you know, people would, I used to joke and say like the definition of hip hop was like Run DMC and Beastie Boys. Like that was the definition. You didn't need man, to like bring that into Macroverse and comics is just like another one. Like when you were talking and telling, you know, I mean, God, just talking about Jam Master Jay and all of that. I mean, it was kind of like giving me goosebumps. And to hear, you know, I can only imagine, he's so creative anyway, like what he's got up his sleeve, and knowing like all you guys working together, man, it's just like, I can't help but be like super excited, not only to see like what kind of anthology stuff happens, but just for the overall story in general.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, look, here I'll read a couple of the tea leaves for you and anyone that is listening. I mean, you know, it's like, here's what we do. It's like we build the structure for this world. We find some cool creative world to kind of get it up and running into existence. And then we invite people to have a piece of it in their various ways. And so, you know, that will be part of how this plays out as well. So, you know, if you like the idea of this kind of like hip hop cinematic universe, you know, there will be a way to own characters and, you know, participate in having your, you know, piece of that, your corner of that universe. And you know, I think Daryl is incredible, and also knows everyone in that world, both on the hip hop side and the rock and kind of music side. And so, you know, again, no promises, no. I don't want to get too speculative on where that might lead, but it could lead anywhere. It could lead a lot of really exciting places. And so, we're thrilled to be building the foundation for that with him. And, I will say that his co-publisher in his comic endeavors is the person that helped build Shady Records. And we can just leave that there. But
see, that's one I think I've been holding in.
Yeah.
I don't want to be blamed for speculation.
That's all right. Little speculation is fine. I don't want people coming back and going like, "You said X when we didn't."
Oh yeah, for
say
sure.
X,
For sure.
We could not be more excited about this. So definitely like the first easiest way to participate in what we're doing with DMC is just to subscribe to the channel on Derp House. Hopefully subscribe to the Macroverse channel there as well. And,
if you haven't subscribed yet, you're late. There's 100,000.
Well, actually, you're just on time because the first drop is going to be sometime over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be on a weekly schedule of drops coming out there as well.
I feel like, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, I feel like on the first week of the Macroverse drop, could you already start to put in like your droplets or?
Yeah, so it won't, the droplet, like the leaderboard starts after the first drop. So the drop and then the leaderboard for the next drop. And so I kind of like that. It's like, you're kind of trying to get in line for whatever the next thing is based on your participation was in the last thing. What we did on the Macroverse drop, and I don't know for sure that this is what we'll do on the DMC one, but I think it's where I'm leaning, is that we'll still have a kind of baseline, or kind of a base edition, a rare edition, and a legendary edition in the first drop, which is also what we did on the Macroverse one. But for that first one, because there's no leaderboard, we just did it as a percentage. And so I think it was like, 10% got the rare, then like 2% got the legendary, or so it was something like that. So that we were already, kind of setting that up, and then, letting that first one be a way of just kind of getting a bunch of cool stuff into the people that have subscribed to the channel and supported the channel. And then, kind of the leaderboard system kicks in for drop number 2.
Super cool.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. I don't know. I couldn't remember. And I felt like that on the first drop, like I wanted to get in the, you know what I mean? Like I was like, wait, I can't get in there. So, but again, like I was still kind of learning. I mean, I don't think I even learned about the perks and the leaderboard until you guys did the Macroverse drop. And when I really started getting into it and seeing, holy cow, this is like, everybody does this.
Yeah, exactly.
In some situation anyway.
Yeah. Well, and like, I've picked up a good number of things on secondary myself, and we've got a pretty good, kind of consistent turnover on secondary for our drops now, which is nice. And then, but it's again like the economics of Solana just make it so friendly for like, oh man, I really like this one and I really want that rare edition, and it's $20 instead of 2,000 or whatever.
Are there royalties on the exchanges of the drip?
There are, so that's nice as well. As like it's like we are getting little drips of royalties for the secondary sales, and again that just means more that we can share with our collaborators too. That's
just super cool. I mean, to think about how it all starts basically from literally nothing, from just giving something away, and to be able to bring back, even if it's not the biggest amount of revenue at the moment. To think about, like what this could be, and to think in the next bull market, maybe these, $20 NFTs will be 2,000. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think let's get real for a second, because I think we're never gonna see. I don't think we're ever gonna see what we saw in 2020.
But we saw.
I think that was it was a moment in time. There's something magical about having been a part of that, no matter how wrecked we all might be.
Yeah.
But I think, what it did is it proved that there was a way to do some things that had never been done before, that people would value, at some level, digital items that, had never been able to capture value before, that you could build a community based on, that type of mechanic or mechanism. So I think it really, to me, it did more than the value accrual to particular things. It proved a lot of theories around how this could work going forward. And I think for us, and this is definitely not true of every project, but for us, like, we want to do things that reach millions of people, not, thousands of people. And so, that's not to say that there's not a place, because there absolutely is, for the ultimate deluxe, one of one thing that, absolutely is, worth, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. That exists in the real world too. Go find a first edition pair of Jordans. You're going to pay some dollars for those, or a pristine copy of X-Men #1. Like, that those things get, sold at auctions for millions of dollars. So I think we will see specific items that have so much relevance that they get that kind of value accrual. But I think I've always said, I think the way this all shakes out is it does look more like the real world. It happens faster because we're connected, it's digital, it's on the internet. But the spread of value, I do think, is going to look a lot more like what we're used to in comics and trading cards and other types of collectibles, where things that are designed for the mass market, which is very much, what we're doing, is making things that we want, the mass cultural impact, to be created from. But then the trick, the magic trick, is that when millions of people get to experience something that they fall in love with for either free or very, very inexpensively, then the fact that many people love that thing means, in my mind, it's inevitable that now the thing there's only 100 of or 1,000 of becomes more valuable. And so, this was a question that Malloy and the Vogu, asked, which I felt compelled to actually do a little video comment on. So you can find that on my Twitter feed. But it's like, why do we think that value accrues back to NFTs? If a TV show gets made or if an animated series gets made, and I think it comes down to, it comes down to the origin point. Is the origin of this franchise NFTs? Or is the origin of this franchise a TV show, and then there are NFTs that studio is selling? Because I think those are very different value propositions, and again, can kind of track that back to how the rest of the world works. If the origin point of Spider-Man is the first issue of Spider-Man, then the fact that Spider-Man is a worldwide phenomenon makes that first issue, that origin point, significantly valuable. A first edition of Harry Potter will always be significantly more valuable than the printing that you can go buy at Barnes & Noble right now. It comes back to, where did this thing that so many people love, where did it come from? I want that. There's less of those than there is of these. Therefore, that thing is more valuable because so many people love it. So I think that's just a proven, way that these things work in the world of entertainment, and how that value does go back to the earliest iterations. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first printings of that black and white comic are very valuable because there's so few of them, and now it's a massive franchise that people love. So I think, when you can trace it back to the origin, if the origin is NFTs, those NFTs become more valuable. If the origin is, we all love Game of Thrones, and now there's a Game of Thrones collection, that's not worth very much because it's merch. Yeah. And, there might be the rare exception to that, but mostly it's treated and looked at as, the origin of Game of Thrones is the first edition of the books. It's not even the show. So doing terrible NFTs of Game of Thrones is not going to automatically mean that those things are valuable.
Yeah.
I think it's an important distinction for, why do we believe that, this does matter as we build this out. So Anyway, as I said in my response previously, thank you for the opportunity to get on my soapbox about that. I will now step down.
Well, so I mean, we're kind of winding down. We always kind of. I'm glad we spent a good bit of time on DMC because we didn't get to last week. And the big thing that I really wanted to talk about this week was content.
Yeah.
And once again, we kind of didn't get to, but we have a little bit of time.
Got it. Hold up. Let's do a quick trip around the app real quick. So this is the Macroverse mobile app, iOS and Android, in your app stores. Just search for Macroverse. So we've got a bunch of new content that's coming out right now. There's a bunch of stuff that's already on the app, and I'll just highlight a few things. So jump on there and you'll see all this stuff. Excited about a few new series. One is the Sherlock Holmes series, which is really good. It's produced by our friends across the pond who also make Tripwire magazine, which is, I think, one of the better kind of comics journalism, kind of fanzines that are out there. So very, very happy to have this on the app from them and also support kind of what they're up to. But really cool series. It's got this very distinctive kind of vibe, which I think really fits with a Sherlock Holmes story. So, kind of has this classics illustrated, kind of feel to it. And it's definitely going to take forever to load because I'm doing a demo of it right now. Interesting. There we go. So, it has this kind of, pen and ink style that to me feels very much like what you might get in like a classic Sherlock Holmes kind of a book. And I really quite like the art. There's one thing in here that, we might have shown on our previous stream, but I think it's such a good example of something we can really only do in our tab story format, which is when this assassin is bullseyeing this particular character that he wants to take out, like this little sequence where we're just tapping through the viewfinder while keeping the context of the scene of him in the background. Like, to me, that's just one of those things that works uniquely well in this format. So very excited about that. We just put out the next episode. So episode 4 is out this week. So that one is a good one. We've talked a little bit about Dino Babies before, and we should get Matt on here for one of these streams to talk about Dino Babies. But a new episode of Dino Babies is out today as well, episode 4. So again, kind of coming out around the same time frame.
That was just so fun. So much fun.
So fun. Matt's art is so good.
Always go to like the more hardcore, which you're just getting down to. I started the 357 Magnum opus, and it's good to do something that's like more fun and lighthearted, like Dino Babies, man. I don't have too much stuff that makes me smile like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been squashing a few bugs on the app, and I guess you're getting to see them right now. There's actually a new update that's been submitted to the App Store, so we'll get that out shortly. But yes, 357 Magnum Opus is the other one that has launched, and it's got this, it's this kind of gritty crime series. I want to show some of the artwork from it because it is also awesome.
It's like one of my new favorite styles. It's got like a thicker kind of pen stroke to it, almost like a marker stroke, like a Sharpie. It really works. I don't know. And then I feel like I wish it was popping up, but I feel like on that, at least on the first episode anyway, there's a lot of full screen panels as opposed to like broken down panels, and it's like you see these, like, it's just really like watching a movie to me. I mean, like, you see these like almost full size characters, and it goes back and forth, and it's just, man, it's really again, like, I mean, it's just one that really caught my attention, and it sucked me right into it. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm glad. Well, I was going to show you, there's a new episode of that out today as well. So I think
at least you can't spoil it for me.
Well, now I'm struggling with trying to screen share again. So this is we're having technical difficulties here at the end of the episode. Come on, let me try one more time. Come on,
Well,
come on. Okay, there we go.
Just because you're live and you're trying to stream it, because I've been on the app several times today and I didn't have any issues with it.
No, this is very rare, so I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, so you can see. Okay, actually, we've got the first 3 episodes up here now. So yeah, really fun. And if this will load at the moment, yeah, the style of it is really cool. It's almost like hybrid between kind of drawn and painted. It almost has this kind of marker, almost kind of a concept art kind of marker aesthetic to it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Really like the style, and the story is really fun. So definitely a recommend there. And then new episode of Seasons out today as well. So a bunch of new stuff out this week. And actually a new episode of Billy Smoke too. So I think 5 new episodes this week have come out.
It's like, where do I start?
All kinds of good stuff. So yeah, I mean, you can just find stuff to dive into. There's a lot you can binge, either full seasons or full series. Like all of Remind is up here. So if you got episode 1 of Remind through the drip edition, that's up here. We've been talking about Aerosol. That's up here. Dead Town is up here. We've got some Nouns comics, which are really fun, which came funded by the Nouns DAO, which was really cool. Anthologies, just all kinds of great stuff. I think we're definitely over 1,000 episodes on the app at this point.
Yeah.
And all for $5 a month. So, if you've got any of our collections, we'll get you in for free. But if not, or even if you just want to help support some of our creators, $5 a month, unlimited access to everything on the Macroverse app. And doing some really, if I can pull off what I'm trying to build right now, game over for the comics industry in the best possible way. A golden age for comics creation. Let me say that. There's some really cool stuff we're trying to do right now. I think it's been a stream. Tiny, thank you so much for hosting as always. And any last words that you would want to point people towards, or anything you want me to wrap up
Discord,
with?
always. Discord. Come to the Discord. What is it? Discord.gg
/Macroverse. Come to the Discord.
Little screen, so I'm like, let me see what does that say.
Good game.
But no, come in, say what's up. I may not always be in there now. At this point, I'm like, God, I'm so busy anymore these days. But if someone's in there and they're talking, I promise you, I'm popping in and saying what's up. And if you have any questions, I can point you in the right place. You got Valor, you got several Mats, you've got everybody. You've got Dim Sum. Everybody is amazing in there. So please come into the Discord and hang out.
Yeah, it's a great core community. I think we're trying to move a little bit away from being a kind of quote unquote NFT community and a little more towards a let's take over the world together with our creativity, ingenuity, and kind of paradigm shift of how we do these things. And so as we move forward, we are slowly but surely working on a little reorganization of the Discord, which we'll talk about in more detail as we get into the writers' room sessions and those sorts of things. But I think gearing the whole Discord a little bit more towards what are the things that we do here together, and kind of organizing with that in mind is going to help people find their way to the places that they're most interested, and then be able to really engage in those things.
I was going to say, and speaking of doing more together, we talked about possibly bringing Matt on from Dino Bell. I'm definitely going to talk to him about bringing him. But, in the future, I definitely want to have some people from the community come in, out, have some opportunity to chat and get some things off their mind or ask some questions.
Yeah.
And also, please come to the Discord. I want to do more things together, more game nights, more stuff like that, because, my experience with the Macroverse Discord community is it's more of a family than a Discord community. And I just want to keep it growing because it's been probably one of the best experiences of my life. So,
thank you, sir. You're a big part of it. Awesome. Well, as I wipe away this tear, say, thank you once again. Anyone that tuned in live, thank you for being here with us live. Anyone that watches later, thank you for watching later. And we'll see you next week. Same tiny time, same tiny channel for another trip around the Macroverse with Tiny's Universe and the man himself, Tiny Universe. And with that, I'm going to hit the end stream button. Everybody have a wonderful night, fantastic weekend, and we'll see you on the interwebs.
Good night. Thank you.